Alright, here's your paper. Don't peek. Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Jess. I make motherhood and lifestyle videos, and today we have a special guest. This is my husband, Zach. I thought it would be fun to do a 6 things we've learned in the last 6 years of our marriage in honor of our anniversary coming up in April, on April 13th. So I had Zach write down 6 things that he's learned in our 6 years of marriage, and I did the same thing. And we haven't seen each other's answers, and we're just gonna go back and forth while we color. Both of our children are sleeping, so we're just gonna color and discuss just 6 things that we've learned. They're not like the only things that we've learned, obviously, but it's just like the 6 things that like stick out to you the most. Yeah. You go ahead and start us off.
Okay, first one for me is, which actually before I read it, right before we sat down to start filming, we were joking about how different we are. Like, Jess said that she did just bullet points for the 6 things because she just knows in her mind what she wants to say about them, whereas I like wrote a solid paragraph for each one because I'll probably forget in a moment. Like, I can't trust myself to just extrapolate on a bullet point. Like, I need to remind myself or explain because I'll just derail and totally get lost. So
just different.
So it's different. For me, the first one is, most of the time you don't need your problems to be fixed right away. You need to be seen, you need to be heard, validated, like deeply, intentionally listened to. For me, this is hard because I'm naturally a fixer. Like, I think of solutions. I don't know, I've always been a fixer. And then adding on top of that, I have ADHD. And so within the first couple seconds of you explaining your issue or the problem at hand, I know how the story goes, or like I can usually piece things together really quick. And then I usually have several solutions, like fixes for them. And so for me, this has taught me to exercise patience, exercise restraint and self-control, to like, you know, when you have conversations with people, and usually I feel like this is more in heated conversations or more arguments, but like where you're thinking of your answer or your rebuttal or whatever it might be while the other person is talking, and you don't actually hear what they're saying. In a similar way, not for like in a confrontational thing, but for me, it forces me to shut my brain off and just listen, just to be present. And then once I've heard the entire story, then to like, I don't even respond with the fix or the solution, but I've learned to ask, like, do you want to give you a solution? Do you want an answer, or do you just need me to listen and be present? Because
in the beginning of our marriage,
it was very,
you would just fix it.
It was fix it Felix, or mansplaining things to you know. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I've learned a lot. Listen, be a good listener.
My first one is communicate, and I know this is like marriage 101. When you get married, everyone's advice is like communication is key. We obviously heeded it and took it to heart, like, okay, yeah, of course. Took headed up. But we listened and thought like, okay, yeah, that's good advice, but you don't truly understand the depths of that advice until you're in marriage. Just the biggest thing that I've learned about you and myself really is like, just communicate. And it's small things. I'm gonna be an extra few minutes late. Like the other day I was helping my brother and sister move, and it was going longer than we had agreed upon. And so I called Zach and just let him know. I was like, hey, it's going longer. I would like to stay and just like help until the end, because it was just a bunch of stuff and they needed the hands and the help. And so I called Zach and just let him know where I was at. And in the beginning of our marriage, we didn't do those things and we wouldn't communicate. But yeah, I was like, I had to learn very quickly, like, to just communicate with you about everything and ask you to communicate with me. And I think it got annoying for a minute, but then 6 years later, it's like
second nature.
Just like the small communications, communicating like little details throughout your day, especially like where you're at from the day. So I'm not needing to play a guessing game when you get home of like, where are you at? What do you have capacity for? Like, I don't need to emotionally brace anymore because like you just tell me where you're at when you call me on your way home.
Yeah.
Or like when you call for lunch, I can hear where you're at from the day. And so when you get home, I know how to approach you better. I think it's just those small pieces of communication throughout the day. Like obviously we communicate about the big stuff, life decisions we communicate about.
Yeah.
But it's just those small little communication details that I think in the grand scheme helps avoid arguments and the potential of an argument. Especially like if it's in the moment, it's fine, but I feel like those things tend to build and can lead to an explosion or like a really big frustration point, and it turns into an argument. It's not even about the thing that happened, but it's like the small pieces that have built up to that moment of like you didn't communicate, and that tension built in my heart throughout the day, and I like moved on from it really quickly until it exploded because like little pieces would build up, especially in the beginning when we were learning each other. Yeah, my one is communication.
I love that. Yeah, communicating, it's good. It's healthy. It's important.
Especially if you're married.
Especially if you're married.
Because it's a partnership. It's like you're not, I mean, you are your own people for sure, but like you've made a promise and a covenant to each other, be there for one another. And so I think it's just courtesy to communicate. It might seem like irritating or like, I'm my own person, I should be able to just do whatever I want to do. But no, I think in marriage especially, like you lose a little bit of that autonomy, and it's actually like super important to communicate with your spouse for a healthy, lasting marriage.
You like to figure things out on your own. And then if you do need help, you oftentimes have a really hard time asking for help.
Yeah.
I think the root of that comes from you were around a lot of leaders in ministry that had a lot of growing to do in leading.
Yeah.
And they would make you feel bad, like if you didn't know how to do something, rather than seeing it as an opportunity to love and to train and teach and disciple you in those ways. It was like, what? You can't do that? Like,
it was like a shameful thing for sure, yeah.
And so you always felt judgment or belittlement if you couldn't do something on your own. And so you would always just figure it out. And I think you had enough, like a long enough season of your life where you had to do that, where it just kind of became a part of how you operate. Something that I've learned through that as your husband is to give you time if you need time to figure it out, but also to like, I don't know, maybe it's a thing that I've taken upon myself to want to help undo, maybe give you better experiences, better exposure to being vulnerable and asking for help.
I mean, it's definitely easier with you because you're my husband.
Right.
But I definitely have a hard time asking like anyone external, like especially when I was postpartum with Charlie. It's like I really struggled with that, and you obviously had to work as the provider of our family, and I didn't ask anybody for help, and I probably should have asked people for help.
That was a really rough season.
Yeah, I mean, it was like postpartum depression. It was really bad, but I didn't want to ask for help because it was like, I need to figure this out, and that really hindered me as Charlie's mom and figuring it out. All right, second one for me, just becoming selfless. Like, in a marriage, I don't know, this is a pretty complex thing to learn and to try and articulate, because if you're not in a marriage and you're not experiencing your spouse, it's hard to articulate this. But like in our specific marriage, like becoming selfless looks different in our situation than I think it will in other people's. Becoming selfless is literally just putting you first, no matter what. I mean, it's easier when it's reciprocated. It's easier to become selfless when you know they're also being selfless.
Sure.
And there's just like that unconditional love between the two of us. But it's like putting your needs before my own during the day. Like I'm even, like the simplest thing is like preparing your breakfast. Like dinners and lunches are different, but like preparing your breakfast and making sure you're fed as you're going out the door, putting your needs before my own, because I can eat later because I'm home, but like making sure that you have your breakfast before you leave the house is like something I've been learning lately, and I feel like is important for us, is to make sure like you have your food, serving you in that way of like putting your needs before my own in a lot of ways, making sure you're taken care of. And I can see this like becoming a hyper religious, which I think a lot of people from the outside looking in could think that, or do think that in a lot of marriages. But I think like the way you and I grew up and in our marriage, things that we've learned, the way that we were raised, and the beginning of even our relationship is like we've had to learn to become selfless. I think it's contributed to how we parent and how we are honestly like thriving in this season. Is like we've started off as selfless. Like a lot of the ways that you love me is very selfless, and you are always putting me and the girls first. And I've seen you be that example of selflessness, and it's like really encouraged me in how like just being that example of being selfless, and like it's so easy to reciprocate it because that's just like in your nature to be selfless. And I think it's contributed to the health of our marriage, and it makes it easy to like be together in this very intense season with kids, is we were already selfless for each other, and now that we have kids, it's easier to have young kids, and our marriage is not suffering because like that's just how we went into being married.
That's good.
So that's my second one.
Number 3 for me, you get overstimulated easily. Your tell signs are not always obvious.
What do you mean?
It could be you being one of 5 kids where you usually like kind of had to suck it up, or you're just really good at, like, you'd be great at poker probably.
Good thing I don't gamble.
But yeah, good thing you don't gamble. No, I think you internalize things when you're feeling overstimulated.
Yeah, I'm totally an internal processor.
Because you didn't, probably growing up, I don't think you wanted to be a burden to people. If you don't communicate that you're overstimulated right away, sometimes it's hard for me to know, and me not knowing that you're overstimulated can sometimes result in me accidentally being insensitive towards you, either trying to be bantery or playful, and it's just
not received.
No, not received well.
That's so funny that that's your third one, and my first one was communication.
I know.
That's so ironic.
And so I've learned from that. I've learned to be, to pay very close attention to your body language and your overall demeanor.
What's like my tell?
What's your tell? Okay, I don't want to like hyper spiritualize this as well, but most of the time I just like, I feel it in my gut. She's having a hard time, and I feel some sort of urge to step in and relieve you.
I feel like I'm getting better about not becoming so easily overstimulated.
You are. Yeah, your resilience and capacity to deal with stuff has increased immensely. Also, half of it is common sense to discern if you're overstimulated or not. Like, if both of the kids are screaming and they both want you, Finley's been in this fun stage where she'll want Jess, and so Jess will pick her up, but then she'll whine and cry because she sees something on the ground that she wants, and so Jess will put her down on the ground. And then Finley will feel like the biggest injustice has just been done to her, like, you put me down, how dare you? That is like one of the quickest ways for you to get overstimulated.
Yeah, that's super hard to deal with that.
And so usually for me, if I can just hear the girls crying, like a lot of times when I'm out at work, we'll FaceTime during lunch. Most of the days, most of the conversations go a little bit like Jess leaves the phone there because the girls are both crying or need her, or something is going on, or it's like really happy, joyful emotions, but it's still loud, big emotions. I feel like I'm saying a lot of big emotions, a lot of crying. Our kids aren't always crying. I feel like just lately it's been a little bit more emotional.
They're just learning a lot of things.
Yeah, they're both going through a lot of big emotional, mental development, which is awesome. But
just at the same time.
And usually after either a bad night's rest or when your social capacity has been maxed out, and so we can't plan it, like we don't know when they're gonna have hard times.
It's relying on the Holy Spirit a lot in this season. Good. Sorry that I'm so predictable.
No, it's not a bad thing. It's something that I've noticed, and something that helps me to be more sensitive towards you.
Sure. The third one I've learned that I think really speaks to you a lot is serving intentionally. Like serving the house and keeping it clean, serving our kids, and making dinner are like all different things. Like it's a different type of serving. And the serving that I mean is like giving intentionally to your love language. Like intentionally serving your needs as opposed to like the general needs of the household. And like normal day-to-day things that just need to happen, like meal prep and stuff like that. but like intentionally serving you and your love languages, I think really means a lot to you. And it's funny, like seeing how you work 6 years later is like, if you're at the end, like your cup is really empty and you're just pulling on the fumes that you, like the reserves that you have. And when I do stuff that intentionally, specifically serves you as an individual person, and like I'm going out of my way to intentionally serve a love language I know you have, I notice you like get
Cry.
revitalized. Yeah, I am very good at getting you to cry.
I get so emotional.
You do. But just like intentionally serving you refuels and regenerates you. And I've noticed that you like, I don't know, there's like a spark and an energy that comes out of you when I do stuff like that. And you could go the next few months and you're just like happier and lighter because I think you feel intentionally pursued and like I've gone out of my way just for you.
Yeah.
Not like I did this thing for our family and you're also like collectively in that.
Sure.
But it's like, I don't know, I went out of my way to intentionally do something for you. And I've noticed that really speaks to you and just like reignites you.
So, I'm still a middle child. You middle children out there, you get it. It's easy to feel left out, forgotten, or just not pursued. Like, I mean, I also don't have to tell you because you were one of 5 kids, so who's also a middle child. And so it's like when you do take the time to be intentional, to love me, and it's me benefiting from whatever isn't just a byproduct, like you were saying, of doing something for the whole household, which is good, it's beautiful. But like when you do something just for me, it's like definitely hits me because it models the father's love, like leaving the 99 for the one. Yeah, it's good to feel pursued. Like you don't benefit, you don't gain from pursuing me or showing me love like that. And
yeah, I don't
it's
get
like it's a sacrifice, and it's something that for me, like probably working through receiving gifts, not like I loved giving gifts, but I always hated receiving gifts. I felt guilty, or I felt, I don't know, the worth or the value, like I wasn't worth it. And so when you go out of your way to intentionally like show me love selflessly like that, it speaks volumes. Yeah. Thank you for loving me the way that you do.
Alright, what's yours?
I've learned that you do not like blunt answers, but you also don't like to be mansplained or over-explained things to, because it insults your intelligence. Like, I need to listen to you, and then before just giving a hard yes or no, I need to involve you in my thought process. Yeah, which, again, speaking of communication, it's like yes or no isn't involving you in the journey and the decision process rather than like a dictatorship. And I don't ever want to be a dictator. Yeah, you're not a coworker, as obvious as that sounds. I feel like I have to be pretty rigid at work. Like yes or no, things are very black and white usually. But marriage and communication like that, you deserve more than just my end decision, my end point. You deserve to be involved in my thoughts, because usually if there ever was a misunderstanding on something, or like we weren't on the same page with, you know, whatever it was, on a decision for something, oftentimes if I involve her in my thought process, like I'm sharing my thoughts on why, my reasoning on why it's a yes or why it's a no, most times she will, like, you'll interject, remind me, or, you know, shed more information, or it's an opportunity for you to reveal more information on the subject. And then sometimes it changes my mind. You see something that maybe I was misinformed, or I had a lapse in, or a gap in the information. Me explaining helps you to see my, like, a glimpse into my mental process. And then most times you're able to either understand my reasoning or find a flaw in my reasoning, and we're able to dialogue it more. I think it's refining for the both of us. I don't know, I feel like I just really appreciate the extra communication, because then I can see just how you process more. It just helps me know you better, instead of like just being told what the answer is, and it's like, okay, well, how did you get to that point? And how can I like
better serve you and your thought processes.
Yeah, because I'm a very internal processor.
And it's fine. Like, if that's just how you process things. I appreciate the, like, verbal communication because I'm both an external and internal processor, which is kind of frustrating sometimes. And it is very busy, where, yeah, I wish that I was just, like, one or the other, but I really do both. And so when you don't communicate with me, it's just kind of like, okay, how did you get to that resolve?
And it could be disheartening, like if we're talking about making a purchase, like getting the girls toys, and I just straight out say no, but I didn't hear the intent behind it, or I don't share like, oh, you know, in our budget we had already maxed out spending for kids' toys or whatever it might be.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm still learning to communicate my part because, like, I'm fine taking on the planning and budgeting and the, like, thoughts behind getting the girls the clothing that they need, like, seeing, because I'm the one that's home all day.
You know their needs better than I do.
And yeah, I just know, like, okay, what are they going to need soon? What's tighter? What's not fitting? What don't they like wearing? What would make more sense for us to get next? And I'm learning to, like, research it and come to you with researched, thought through plans instead of just like, I just want to get the girls these things. And to you, on the outside looking in, you're like, well, we just got the girls these things. Like, they don't need more stuff. But I'm seeing the internal, like, okay, but they just outgrew this. Charlie just went through a growth spurt, so she's going to need new clothes. And so it's like, I'm learning to go the extra mile with communicating what they need in depth instead of just like that same thing of not giving you the inside scoop of like what they need, but I'm just like, this is just what they need. And expecting you to just get it is not fair to you. But like, learn that how you need to be communicated with.
It feels so businessy though, and I'm sorry.
It's fine.
It's like you gotta express your business case for why you need these things.
But I think it's good to like do research.
It challenges you
like,
for sure. But I need to, like, we've talked about this, but like I need to compromise in active listening and hearing you in your heart before I just say yes or no or shut it down. But like being a better listener is something
I'm with compromises.
Yeah, listening better is something that I feel like I'm just always going to need to work on more.
Just learning to listen to each other more, which is a good thing. My fourth one, asking questions. What I mean is asking questions deeper than just like a question about your day, but like asking questions about your interests and things that are important to you. And making those important to me as well. Like, I don't care about cars, but I will ask you about cars because it's important to you and you're doing it and you like talking about it and researching it. And so just like asking you about different hobbies because you have a million hobbies and I don't always care about them, but I care about you and I like to know what you're interested in and that matters to me. Because you matter to me. Just something that I think keeps our marriage healthy is just asking questions about you. Always dating and like, what's new with you? What are things that you like to do? And sometimes joining in on those things that you like to do, which I think is fun because then it just like reignite and keeps it fresh and keeps me up to date with you. And like, because we're always changing, like new hobbies come up and new interests come up and I like knowing what those are. So just asking and inquiring often. And I don't do that all the time. Yeah, that one's my fourth one. It's just asking questions. And I need to get better about it and ask questions about you more often. But just something I have recently felt convicted about. So I want to just inquire more and ask questions more about stuff that's important to you. Because I think that makes you feel valued, I've noticed.
I've learned how much I tend to overcomplicate things. And I noticed it's really hard to follow somebody who habitually overcomplicates things. Or like if I'm offering a plan or an idea, or like I'll say it and then immediately after I'll provide two other alternatives and then it's like decision fatigue. And so I've learned it's like it's encouraging me to work through my plans or ideas or whatever internally, and usually by the third iteration it's simplified and clarified enough to where I feel good and peace and it's very direct and it's less like just less complicated. Yeah, which it keeps me accountable, challenges me to not be so overcomplicated. Like,
doesn't always have
it
to
doesn't
be
have
so
to be
complex.
so complicated. And if ever I strive to lead, then I need to be able to direct a clear path to follow.
It's hard to follow you when you go back and forth so much.
Yeah.
That's a good. Okay, 5 is patience. And I wrote in parentheses, I'm going to read it. Zach processes and communicates much different than I do. I have had to learn to be very patient with him and allow him time to process and respond to things that I might want a quick answer to.
So that's right on with what I was just thinking.
Part of my personality is I really like quick responses. I just want things to happen really quick. And you take a very long time because you're a thinker and you're an internal processor. And so I don't always get quick answers from you. And that has been really frustrating in the past. But I've had to learn over the years that not everything needs to happen so quickly. And to just be patient and wait for you to respond, or not feel like, why are you taking so long, when it's like, I've been thinking about this for a really long time.
Sure.
And now I'm just involving you into it, and I'm expecting a quick response to something I've been thinking about for a while. Just learning to be patient with you and how you respond. And it's not always going to be quick, and that's fine. Like, it's helped me to slow down a lot. I've just needed to adjust my expectations of like how you respond and to make room for you and who you are and what you do, as far as like, what do you need in this moment of communication? Like researching. Sometimes I need to just bring like, here's what I've been going through processing for the last however long, and this is how I got to this point. But I'm involving you in the whole story, instead of just bringing you, hey, here's a request, I expect like right away give me an answer. Whereas you need time to just like process, because you're a very intentional thinker, but you take your time, which is not always a bad thing, because it helps like refine decisions that I make, and it helps me refine like requests that I make, I guess. Like, is it really that important?
But usually if it is more urgent, like you do need a response or something
I think it's case by case, yeah, for sure. Especially financial requests, like you need a minute.
Yeah.
Because for a while, you were the only one looking at our finances. When I brought a financial request to you, you were thinking of the big picture, like, well, we have all these bills coming up and all of these things need to be paid for. And I'm just looking at like the here and now.
Sure.
Whereas you're looking at the whole caboodle. I've really enjoyed being a part of the financial process.
Okay, we're on 6, last one?
Yes. Last one.
So actually, speaking of literally what you're just talking about, you need for me to be a man of action and just do things. For you to not constantly be asked, like, should we do this or that? Like, here's your solution A or solution B. Solution A, solution B. Like, sometimes you just want me to make a decision. Like, just do it.
Yeah.
So kind of in the same vein though, usually because you are always putting the needs of others before yourself, you've been doing, you've been doing a better job lately of asking for help. Especially with the girls. But
yeah, I've needed to, otherwise I would
but like
crazy.
If you don't ask for a break, when you finally do ask for one, it's too far past and your mental health is really suffering. And so like it's conditioning me to anticipate your mental, emotional, spiritual health, not to wait for you to ask me for help, but to use discernment and see like, you're not doing super good. I can see that you're getting overwhelmed or overstimulated. What's stopping me from just, hey, I'm gonna take the kids. You go, please rest. Because you're never gonna ask for time away from the girls.
It's really hard.
You love them so much, and also it's really hard to get out. And so I'm learning to just act and not always make something such a strenuous decision process or whatever.
But that's something I need to grow into, is just asking for help.
That's my number 6.
Okay, my 6. Things aren't always going to be even. Especially now that we have kids, but that's like, this is our already a lesson that I was learning in our marriage. Adjusting or completely dropping the expectation that things need to be even. My love for Zach goes so much deeper than expecting him to reciprocate evenly, and I think that that has set us up for success in the long run of like, I don't ever expect you to be even with me. For a while I noticed keeping record in my mind of like, I did this, now I expect you to do this in return. And I noticed my heart was starting to get like really frustrated with you, because it was like, I did all this stuff and he's not reciprocating. And I feel really frustrated with you because I just put forth all this effort. Like, I put both the girls down last night, so I expect him to do it tonight or give me some form of a break. And so like completely dropping the expectation that things are gonna be even, which goes back to my second one, like just becoming selfless and serving you because I get to serve you and not ever expecting anything in return. It is easier, again, when it's reciprocated. I don't ever want to just like expect it to be reciprocated. And I've noticed my demeanor towards you has gotten a lot better. I know it's not always going to be even, especially with kids, but in marriage, if you expect evenness and you're just always trying to like get even and not just acting out of a servant heart, I feel like in the past has led to a lot of disconnection and resentment for sure.
I noted here that I'd say like the last 3 years, there's been one scripture constantly on my mind that has shaped how I approach being your husband and being a father. It's like a crash course 101 for serving others and how to be a husband, how to be a wife. Philippians 2:3, which literally it's what you were referring to. But do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not to only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others. Have this in mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. Yeah, putting your needs before my own always, and not making you feel bad about it. What would serve you more? What would bless you? What would bless the girls? Challenged me and shaped how I approach being your husband and being a father. I think it's really important for anybody who wants to be a follower of Jesus and wants to serve others well. Earlier in this scripture, before it actually gets to the part about selfish ambition or conceit, it's talking about essentially doing things like being of one mind in Christ. So like for us, always being on the same page about stuff, it's a good foundation for being able to serve one another. We're in sync, we're in harmony with just life and the matter of hand.
All right, the grand reveal.
I tried to make like a basket.
So happy. There she is. Thank you so much for joining me in today's video. It was really fun getting to like reflect and look back on our marriage.
Yeah.
And come up with these little 6 small things that we've learned. But we're gonna say goodnight and go tend to our babies in our brutal winter storm. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that you are here. We will see you next time. Bye.